I read a report some time ago, and forgive me for not bringing appropriate documentation, but the report stated this, that the world population at 7 billion people on planet Earth, that if you took every person, man, woman, and child that's presently living on planet Earth and placed them in the Lone Star State of Texas, that every person living could stand end to end, and it would only fill up the state of Texas. It would not touch Louisiana or New Mexico or Oklahoma or any of the bordering states. That the population of the planet Earth is small enough that the rest of the world would be unoccupied. Now, of course, you couldn't have houses and highways, but just people just standing there in one state, which means there's still a lot of room for immigrants to come to a wealthy and a powerful nation. You know, the thing that bothers me greatly is what's happening presently in Haiti. I watched a couple of months ago when Joe Biden, my time, ended the war in Afghanistan, and 144,000 Afghanis or American citizens or immigrants or whatever were airlifted to safety from Afghanistan to places and ports here in America. 144,000 all total were brought here because of the fear of the Taliban and various other noble reasons why they should have been airlifted and brought to America. But it hasn't made living in America overcrowded. It hasn't caused the highways to be jammed. It hasn't caused traffic jams in Raleigh, North Carolina. The fact that 144,000 people came in 1 month that were refugees from the nation of Afghanistan. So, when I look at what's happening in Haiti, there are people that left Haiti 10 years ago and headed to South America because of the devastating earthquake where Obama, did not do the appropriate thing in terms of helping the Haitian people. The thing that bothers me now, there are less than 144,000 Haitians on the lam from Haiti because of the earthquakes, because of crime, and just, generational problems. And they're trying to make it to America. Many of them have been living in South America, Panama, and Mexico, and some of them have made their way up to over years of travel. And you have to understand the people that arrived at Del Rio that you saw being sent back to Haiti last month didn't just take a 2-week trip to get there. It has taken them several years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to reach Del Rio. And that Joe Biden, my time, put them on a C-17 plane and sent them all back to Haiti. And many of them had not lived in Haiti for over 10 years. Didn't know anybody in Haiti. But Biden said, get rid of them. Biden was listening to racist tribulation Donald Trump, who said all these Haitians got AIDS. And now Biden is the one who wept and moaned and wiped his eyes in tears over the Afghan people. 144,000 of them brought them here, gave them new identities, took them to Wendy's and the Burger King, and some of them even went to Kentucky Fried Chicken and had themselves one ball, and then have given them the next 10 years of income to get themselves established here in America, the Afghanistan. But now the Haitians, Biden and Trump with the Haitians, beat the hell out of them, send them back. Biden has sent 7,000 Haitians who spent the last 7 years trying to get away from Haiti. Biden sent them all back, and many of them don't know nobody in Haiti now. All the people that they knew are dead, and they got gangs now in Haiti. Now, I understand this well. Let me be clear about what I can be clear about here. I understand that Haiti is a cesspool of problems. There's no doubt about that, and the mess needs to be straightened out. There's no doubt about it. That it is a jungle in terms of crime and poverty and brokenness and a bunch of other stuff as well. Somebody said God has cursed it and forgot where he left the curse, and it won't move it on Haiti. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is, but it's bad news. There's no doubt about it. But what's the difference between the gangs that are killing people in Haiti and the Afghanistan gangs that are killing people in Afghanistan. And the humanitarian part of Joe Biden and Trump said, let's bring these Afghan people to America and give them next 10 years a supplemental income with housing and carpet and flat screen TVs so they can get on their feet. But now the Haitians send their asses back to Haiti just as quick as you can put them on a plane. And that's how that is. Something wrong about that. But here's the thing I really come up to say. That was my introduction. Here's the thing I drove up to tell y'all. I got a problem with all these Hamite people, these billionaires, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Tyler Perry, Michael Jordan, and a bunch of others, right? Will Smith, and a bunch of others. I got a problem with the fact that they are talking about how big and their homes are and how much money they're getting, and they're not doing anything to help these Haitians, that are coming across the border. They ought to be down there, these billionaires ought to be down there in Texas or down in Panama or wherever these Haitians are, helping them. And there ought to be legislation, because I can tell you, Joe Biden and that boy from down there, Jim Clyburn, Angela King, let me say something about your congressman, Jim Clyburn. That boy don't give two damns about black people. All he cares about is keeping white people happy. Now, the term is Hamite and Japheth, but I'm going to keep it real here today. I got to keep it real. Gots to keep it real. No, Jim Clyburn, no credit. Jim Clyburn, all he wants is another smile from Camelback Ain't Black Harris. Lord have mercy. That girl, Camelback Ain't Black Harris, she had old Sweet Willie Brown, Male San Francisco, Sweet Willie Brown. They had a thing going on. Willie Brown bought her a BMW and a Ferrari. Sweet Willie Brown. They were making the town while Sweet Willie Brown was married. Well, let me tell you something. Camelback Ain't Black Harris done smiled at Jim Clyburn. Now, Jim Clyburn is Angela King. She's down there. She's #1 fan of the Manning Report. Anyway, Camelback Ain't Black Harris, smiled at Jim Clyburn, and we don't know what race she is. We don't know whether she's black or white or Jewish or what. But that old man done lost his mind over this young woman. That old man, that boy done lost his mind. He done gone crazy. He don't even know where he left his golf clubs. Lord have mercy. He forgot where he parked his car when Camelback Ain't Black Harris smiled at that old man, Jim Clyburn. They don't care nothing about these Haitians. You ain't heard them say nothing about it. They don't care nothing about them. I'm telling you. So here's my thing. First of all, the billionaires ought to be down there helping these. We don't have 144,000, and America ought to make room. America ought to make room. Look at these ugly billionaires. Look at all these billionaires, right? They got enough money to make the lives of all those people suffering coming across Haiti. I read something the other day about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West fighting over their $70 million home nestled somewhere out there, way out beyond Beverly Hills. They talking about, and then at any rate, you haven't said a word. Not a word, because they don't care. They don't care nothing about them. But there are less than 144,000 people en route had left Haiti 10 years ago trying to make it to America. Why can't they be accepted? Come on, Ira. Come on, let's talk. I understand we're a sovereign nation and we can't be taking in all the immigrants of the world. All the people got problems in the world. But a whole lot of people in the world don't want to come to America. You got people in Copenhagen don't want to come to the world. You got people in Rome, they don't want to come to America. Why they want to come here? You got people living in Frankfurt. You got people living in Berlin. They don't want to come to America. Why they want to come here? But you do have people who live in nations like Afghanistan or in Haiti that need to come here. And America needs to open her doors. And Biden needs to be called to task by saying, we're going to receive these Haitians, and don't none of you Republicans give me any hell, because I'm going to give them all citizenship. And if you don't like it, let's go to battle. I will fight with Kevin McCarthy. I'll send some other, but we ain't sending these Haitians back. That's the kind of attitude I think ought to happen. And I think it would change the world. But here, let me tell you something, because I figured that, you know what I think, and I'll tell you what I think, because what I think is always right. I mean, I think there ought to be tit for tat. If Joe Biden has received 44,000 Afghanistan with C-17 flights in less than 10 days, I think you ought to send them C-17 down to Panama and over yonder to Haiti and down there to Mexico and wherever else these Haitians are. Pick them up and bring them to America. You know, I quite like here's what I think. I'd like to see a lot of them come to Harlem. I would. I just say absolute truth. I believe if we can get those Haitians, we can get maybe 30, 40,000 of those Haitians to come to Harlem. We can run the businesses, because they're quite studious. They're hard workers. They are always about achieving and growing and about education. Haitians are. No, hey, I'm talking about Haitians. I don't know why they go do that in their own nation. I swear this one beats the living daylights. Why don't do it? But they're very hardworking people. Very, very honest, very family. I mean, they bring 30,000 up here to Harlem, and run some of these other people out of Harlem. Turn Harlem over to the Haitian. Call it Haitian Harlem. ATLAH, that's what God said. That, I think, would be a good idea. Some of these billionaires ought to get together, these so-called, if Jim Clyburn can take his eyes off of Camelback Ain't Black's ass rear end, if he can stop looking at that and begin looking at the crisis down at the border, maybe they could get together and put together legislation and say, let's send them up to the Harlem and let Dr. Manning take them in and work with them. And we'll provide the money, the housing. We'll provide for them to be able to start a new life in Harlem. I think that'd be a good idea. I'm serious. Why not? You did it with the Afghanistan. You do it for Randolph Scott. Randolph Scott. Y'all remember Blazing Saddles? You do it for Randolph Scott. You did it for the Afghanistan people. Why can't you do it for the Haitian? I want to know. I want to know. You got enough planes to go down there to Panama and pick up every last one of them Haitians, stop all them people from having to walk 4,000 or 5,000 miles over a period of 2 or 3 years to get to the Mexican border, and then you whip them. You put these rangers on horses and whip them half to death and then throw them on a plane and send them right back to Haiti. No, this got to stop. Somebody got to come help me. This has got to stop. And we need to call these so-called Hamite, that's black, billionaires. Somebody need to talk to them. And somebody need to say, we need to boycott. We need to boycott all Jay-Z's records. We need to, y'all need to bring all the Jay-Z and Kanye West and all these other rap artists and recording artists. And then we need to get whatever Oprah Winfrey stuff, and we need to get all the Air Jordan sneakers and all the Air Jordan jerseys. We ought to bring them all up here to Harlem, to Mount Mars Park, and have a bonfire and vow until these so-called Hamite millionaires get their act together and receive their brothers from down there in Haiti, we will never go to another Jay-Z or Beyonce concert. And I hear they're going to have a bunch of these buck dancers at the Super Bowl this year. Well, and I'm going to get my Japheth brothers, we're going to boycott the Super Bowl. That's right. We ain't going to watch the Super Bowl. No, we need to boycott Jay-Z and Tyler Perry and burn Air Jordan sneakers and jerseys till the fire can be reached all the way to the heavens. We need to have a bonfire of burning their stuff until they get their act together and recognize that these people are coming across the border with all their life's clothing, and the whole world is in a garbage bag, and you're out there drinking $500 bottles of champagne every night. No, something got to change. Something need to change. Something need to change. And somebody need to say it. Somebody, and I'm the one to say it. And Biden, somebody need to talk to that boy. Somebody need to talk to Joe Biden, and somebody need to talk to Jim Clyburn and tell him to stop looking at Camelback rear end. Stop looking at Kamala Harris, her butt, and start looking at the border. Somebody need to talk to these people. Somebody, and I'm, you know, and are y'all gonna let this happen to the Haitians? Are y'all just gonna sit there and go watch the next basketball, or go to the next Jay-Z concert, or go watch Tyler Perry's movies again? What you gonna do? You gonna go out there and buy $300, pay $300 for a pair of Air Jordans, when all them Haitians are walking barefoot up and down in Mexico and the Texas border? What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with you? The hell's wrong with you? The hell's wrong with y'all? No, somebody needs to say something, and I've said it. I would like to receive at least 20 to 30,000 of those Haitians up here in Harlem, right? And all these people, because I'm going to start an investigation about all the property that's been stolen up here by illegal land deals, and a whole lot of tax breaks and a lot of chicanery with community board number 11 and David Dinkins and Al Sharpton, who got paid $800,000. They paid, the landlords and developers paid Al Sharpton over at the Cotton Club. They paid that boy $800,000, and he made a commitment to them in blood that he would never lead a march against gentrification. Now listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is going back 20 years ago. Well, 15. The Al Sharpton got paid $800,000, 200,000 shy of $1 million. That's what he negotiated with the banks and the developers. And he said he would never raise his voice or lead a march against the gentrification or the genocide of Harlem. Now, David Dinkins, he's a lot cheaper. They paid him $175,000 a year to be an adjunct professor to show up over there at Columbia and teach one class a week. Got $175,000 a year, but it wasn't much. And he only lasted for a year or two. Then he croaked, he died, and they were off the hook. But no, my brothers, no, something need to be said. Y'all need to look at, tell Jim Clyburn to stop looking at Kamala Harris's rear end and start looking at the Haitians. And this business with Joe Biden sending, tell Biden, you're sending Haitians back. You didn't send no Afghan people back. And a lot of people believe a lot of them Afghan people y'all brought over here going terrorists. They're going to be bringing down World Trade Centers pretty soon. These Haitian people, all they want is a shot at life. All they want is a chance to live. We can take that whole troop that's coming up out of Haiti, put them in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Fort Greene, and Harlem, and still there won't be any traffic jams. The subways won't be overcrowded or nothing. In fact, it might be cleaner. And there might be a new spirit among the Hamite, dark-skinned, kinky-haired people, because the Haitians going to make them all get their act together. No, this is wrong. It's wrong. And I think Biden need to be put on notice. I think he need to be put on notice that, listen, boy, let me tell you something. The next, you send any more Haitians back to, for every Haitian you send back to Haiti, we're going to make sure that at least 10,000 Hamite people don't vote for you. So how's that? Or vote for any of your programs. And say the same thing to these people running around the Nancy Fancy Pelosi and all these people running around there in the House of Representatives. We ain't voting for you. No, we ain't voting for you. And don't worry about it, because Trump is just as bad. Trump, Biden, he's in the closet racist, wearing them tight pants. You ever see him? Well, he walks like a duck. Somebody ought to get that boy some walking lessons, some posture lessons. Wearing them little tight pants, so tight around his ankle, he can't get, he must have little feet. He must fit. How did he get his feet through them tight pants? Anyway, he's in the closet. I believe he's in the closet. I believe he's in the closet racist. I do. I believe he don't give two damns about Hamite people. Now, Trump, on the other hand, he don't give two damns about who think he's a racist. The boy just don't care. But I care about the Haitians. I do. I care about them. And I think that, we need to do some reckoning. I think we need to do some boycotting of these rappers, burning of their records, burning of their memorabilia, whatever it is that their jerseys and their Jordans. A lot of other people as well. Now, it ain't right for these children to suffer, and all the Afghan children can come and get a free education and get 10 years they're going to get supported. They don't have to worry about hitting the lick of the snake. No, this ain't right. This ain't right. And I think right is right and wrong is wrong. And it does not mean that America will be overrun. I think America might even turn out to be a better place. You're talking about this infrastructure bill and talking about building new roads and highways. Where you want some new workers, right? Where you gonna them coal miners down there in Virginia? They ain't gonna come work up here in Harlem. They ain't coming up here. You're gonna need new workers. Last time y'all built the railroad from New York to San Francisco, you met at Promontory Point. Well, hell, y'all went over there and got all them Chinese people. You know you did. Now, you know you did. You went, because these Americans, they won't go build that damn railroad. Went over there and got all them Chinese people, brought them over here from China to build a railroad. Yeah, you did. You know you did. You know that's what you did. Well, bring the Haitian. You're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about infrastructure, building bridges and roads. You need to get these Haitians because they're good workers. They're hardworking people. I'm for that. Y'all need to pray for me. Y'all pray with me. All right? Help me. Y'all help me do this. This don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. You can bring 144,000 people in 2 weeks out of Afghanistan, and you down there whipping the hell out of them Haitians. It ain't right. Hell, it ain't right. If it ain't right, it ain't right. If it ain't right, it ain't right. It just ain't right. Whipping the hell out of them people. And meanwhile, you're giving a free life, all that money to the Afghan people, talking about they're running from the Taliban. Well, who do you think the Haitians are running from? It ain't right. And then you got these hypocrites, billionaires. I think we need to bring them to task. Y'all need to get out there, get online, and start doing something. At any rate, everybody, I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant, and don't you ever forget it. Don't you ever forget that. You hear what I say? Don't you ever forget it.
Napoleon Bonaparte had treachery in his heart, conquered the world, but he couldn't keep Haiti. Sued for a phony peace to capture Haiti's chief. Napoleon let him starve in a cold, dark dungeon. But he said, I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up with all my senses. I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up with all my senses. He reached eternity, 6 months in Hades free. Oh, death, where is your sting? So now you say we're an S-hole country. At least we're still a free man's country. Napoleon with orange hair. You might be right, you see. But I remember the son of God left his home in glory and humbled himself to die on a cross at Calvary. Did you know that Calvary was a garbage dump, Mr. Trump? Did you know that Calvary was a garbage dump, Mr. Trump? Where the people took their trash, where the people in Jerusalem took their trash. I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. His arms not shortened. I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna give it up. His arms not shortened. His eyes run to and fro to show himself strong. in the behalf of those whose hearts are holy. One thing thou won't refuse, no matter what we do, a heart that he can use, contrite and broken. I'm never gonna give